It's time to get clear, get heard, and get paid. And join us on our Soul Business Retreat. Attract your dream clients and income over 3 nights as we shape your passion into a business that makes a profit. Follow our 13 steps to reach 5K in 30 days in the beautiful Byron Bay. Whether you're starting, growing, or expanding your business, our all-inclusive 3-night retreat is the place for you. Check out the details in the show notes, and we hope to see you soon.
Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I have today with me Susanne Kos. So she is a successful entrepreneur and author who has manifested her dream life multiple times, from living in Bali to owning a boat charter business and a successful jewelry brand. Her book is a straightforward guide to harnessing synchronicity, the secret ingredient for accelerated manifestation to achieve your biggest dreams. You can discover the power of synchronicity with super synchronicity. Enter the frequency of lucky chances, the secret ingredient to successful and rapid manifestation. This transformative self-help book unveils the secret to accelerated manifestation, moving beyond clichéd affirmations and wishful thinking. Synchronicity, the alignment of meaningful coincidences, is the key to unlocking your potential and propelling you towards your goals. This book offers a comprehensive guide to harnessing the powerful frequency, reprogramming your inner identity to shape your outer reality. So a big welcome to the show, Susanne, and I'm sure we've got a lot to unpack.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you very much for having me. It's a big honor.
Oh.
So,
you're welcome.
Yeah, we are.
Welcome. All right. So I guess I'm going to start with the first question, which is what inspired you to write this book?
Yes, it was my own story, because when I think back now, what you nowadays call like this in the social media, you see this lucky girl syndrome, like all these girls showing up, like having everything, travel around the world. But me, when I think back, I was this lucky girl, so I don't know why I grew up in like a normal family with a single mother, a brother from another father, the whole thing, not much money, but my mom already was like, she could give us everything, and she was very positive, and I was really like that. I remember very well, I was like 8 or 9 years, and I was sitting on the beach in Italy, like on a short holiday, and I just knew that I'm going to live on a beach, It was just, I just knew it will happen, and my whole life unfolded like that. Let's say the first part of my life, when all like intuitively came, it fell into place for me. I did the university and I got nice jobs next to the studies, but I never applied for a job. It was like one girlfriend, she said, oh, we need another person for the working at the TV station. Like all the other friends, they would have died to get this job. And for me it was like, shall I do it or not? Okay, I do it. And then the big thing what has happened was, I went to a Bali holiday with my boyfriend at the time, and he was into coaching already. It's like more than 20 years ago. And I remember we were sitting on the beach in Bali, and it was already like, I knew, I when I left the airplane, I knew this is my island, this is my place to be. And he asked me, he was into this coaching stuff, and he said like, oh, I have this question. What if you have a magic wand? What would you wish for? And I was like, bro, we're sitting there in the sunset. I want to live in Bali, and yeah, if I can wish for anything, I want to have a boat and live here. And he was, at that time, he was laughing at me. He's like, yeah, everybody wants to have a boat. But it was so strong and it was incredible, because also he came from a normal family. There was no money background, but somehow we managed to get a credit,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, we went like to 4 banks or like 10 or whatever, and they were like, we cannot give you a credit for a boat in Indonesia. but we got it, There was one guy in the capital of Austria, and he said, okay, guys, somehow I trust you. And he gave us the money. This was at the time quite a lot of money. And we built this boat in Indonesia. It was like 30 meters long. I think it's 78 feet, with cabins on it for customers. And I don't know, we wanted to make a cruise ship, but there was this horrible tsunami. And I think, I don't know if you remember this Bali bombing. There were many Australians who were killed there, when they, there was this bombing in this discotheque.
Everything and that was against you. Yeah.
And that was exactly the time when we finished our boat. So we had this huge boat in the harbor and like all tourists gone, So, and like you introduced me, I'm about manifesting and synchronicities, but the only tourists that returned at the time were the divers. So we were like, oh my God, we called the bank. We said we need another credit, to adjust our boat for the diving business. And I hated diving, So I started a diving course, and it was like the lucky twist, our boat business went up like this because we were the first boat in this remote area, and we did it for 10 years. And I had at the end, I think I stopped calculate. I think I had like over 3,500 dives, and it was just really beautiful. So, and then we sold the boat, and this was very strange, like we couldn't find buyers. And then I said, oh my God, we will find somebody. And I made a yoga teacher training out of nothing. I was like a total beginner, and I made this teacher training, and there I met the buyers, the girl. And then they bought their boat, and we paid back all the credit, and we had a good good win, And after that, this was this lucky part of my life, like everything just fallen into place. And then I decided to go back to Austria. I got a baby son in between. And then I decided to make a jewelry business with my connections in Bali. And that was the same, I started on like yoga exhibitions. I started to sell my jewelry, like Bali bracelets for sure, and everybody was laughing, In the beginning, the people were laughing about us. They couldn't believe that we are doing this boat story.
Yes.
And even after the success, then everybody was like, not laughing in my face, but I knew it, behind my back, like, oh, what a great idea to make a Bali bracelet. But, it was a success from the beginning. But what happened then was, and this is what I think, what is always very important, always in your life, at one point, you have to hit the rock bottom too, just to appreciate.
Yes, I understand, Susanne.
To appreciate everything. And in my case, it was like really horrible, like I got a second child, and then with a motherhood, really the lucky girl turned to in a like stressed woman, and a terrible divorce and all that stuff, and the business went down. So I was like, I think it was 1 or 2 years, I really hit the ground, and I started reflecting and thinking, and I couldn't get the point. There was this turning point where I lost this trust in my luck.
Yes.
So, and here's getting interesting, how you get it back if you don't have it, or if you don't know it at all. And then I was really struggling. I didn't know anymore how to feed my children. I had a house, but debts and whatever, the business was super down. And then synchronicity came in my life. I started, I made many personal development stuff, but nothing really catched it was all right. For me, everything was bullshit, to be honest, So
yeah.
I think it just doesn't work, like you sit there, you wish for something from the universe, and it's just not delivering, like not at all. And then synchronicity somehow came into my life, and I started thinking about this, like your inner reality. It's like a synchronizing, and it becomes your outer reality. And if you go back, this term Synchronicity. It's quite old. It's from an Swiss psychologist, from Carl Gustav Jung. I think it was 1958 or
Yes.
something. He wrote the first book about it. And per definition, it's a chain of lucky coincidences. They have they are not connected to each other, but they are leading to a certain outcome. But you see it when you're there. You recognize
Yeah.
what had happened, and then I realized that it's in me. It's my inner reality was already like, oh, it won't work anyway, and it was quite negative. And even when I started like with these affirmations, it never really it didn't went deep. It was not really me. It was like just trying to convince myself, but it didn't work. And then I really started like going into myself, like feeling myself and really trying to push out all this, I call it surrounding noises, what people tell you and what is, what are the beliefs or what do you have. And then I wrote down my first like formula for myself, I remember very well, it was like January and it was, I think, 2020, like just before the pandemic started. And there was synchronicity, and then there came another word. It was like scaling, you have to scale your business. And in the beginning, I was selling my bracelets on exhibitions and in little shops. And then I realized I cannot scale my business like that. I have to go online, it must be an online shop. And to sell jewelry online was not, not the best idea because people like to touch it, but I knew that's the way, and I remember very well. I wrote down.
And lucky you did.
Lucky I did, exactly. And I remember it was January or February, and I wrote down in 1 month I want to make 10,000 euros, and in 6 months 100,000. No matter how, I don't care. This is my target, and I went into just always repeating it like really hourly. And it was like in the beginning like really lying to myself somehow, like panicking. But I repeated it and I repeated it, and it was really, I could feel this unfolding, or it was more like I had always the feeling there. It's like I exactly knew what to do. There were many possibilities, but it was at that point so easy. I was just like calling somebody, and like I was looking for somebody who can scale the business, and they were like, oh, we cannot help you, blah blah blah. But there's one guy in Germany, in Germany, like somebody you cannot grab when it's going wrong. But I don't know. I talked to him, and I told him about my plans, and he was like, yeah, okay, if you want to earn this amount of money, you have to do like Facebook advertisement. And I was like, oh my goodness, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook ads. But somehow it came to a point that I made a coaching to learn it by myself, not to give to an agency. And I can only tell you, it was exactly as I wrote down. It was like 1 month. It was March. Okay, the pandemic started at 10,000, and really, and Corona went on, and in June, July, we hit the 100,000 euro per month turnover. And
I know you can laugh about it now.
I laugh about it now, but you should have seen me at the time before. I was like 50 kilo, like crying on the couch.
I understand. Yeah. I think if anyone's been through their dark night of the soul, which I call like part 1, part 2, part 3, they'll understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But then, I came to a point, it was like last year, it was the same with the boat, after a certain time, I was like, I had no inspiration anymore for new jewelry. So I was like, oh, I'm going to sell the business. It's an online business. There are platforms, you can sell e-commerce. And they were like, I don't know, I went to an agency or like a business consultant, and they're like, oh my goodness, because my jewelry, the name was wish crystal jewelry, like and Gedankenkraft, like the power of thoughts, super spiritual, it's not something you sell like this, and they were like, oh, it's such a niche market, and it's so it's like
Yeah.
it's on your build up with your personality and blah blah blah. And then I realized, I don't know, I was looking for buyers for a few months, and then I realized there was again these surrounding noises, like telling me this is not possible. And then I really started, so I want to do it again, and I sit down and I wrote down like the perfect buyer is going to find me. He is not interested in any numbers or statistics or whatever future stuff. He sees the potential of the brand and just want to have it.
Yeah.
And I went into this again, and my husband, he was like, he was really asking me, are you well, because I was so focused on that. I was sitting at home, or when we went for skiing or whatever, I was sitting in the car when he was driving, and I closed my eyes and I went through it like all the time. And in the meantime, I say it's like really 90% it's in your head, it's in your reality. And in my case, it's really like it's 10% in the outside, because there came a newsletter from another platform where you can make advertisements if you want to sell a brand. Or and I was like, okay, I'm doing this, and you had to pay like €100 to get also in the newsletter. And I thought, I was like, maybe it's well invested money, because the newsletter found me, so I paid this €100 that I'm in the newsletter too. And it was like 3 days after that, I got like, I think 20 requests.
Wow.
And I picked 3 of them. And there was one girl, and she was so ready, she wanted to buy already another jewelry brand. The deal didn't happen. So she had the money ready from the bank. She made already a company to do it. So she was so stoked, she was like, let's do it. And yeah, we had one Zoom call. No negotiation about the price, nothing. She just took it as it was,
Goosebumps.
And this was last February. And my formula, I have always like a close target and like short-term goal and a long-term goal in my formulas. And then my long-term goal, the short-term was to sell the jewelry brand in 1 month, and it was exactly 23 days until the money was on the bank account. And my long-term goal was to write a book.
Yeah.
So, but my idea of a book was to do something like, I don't know, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I wanted to write a fantasy novel or something totally out of space. But then I was like, no, this is just too good not to write it and not to put in the beginning I didn't want to show too much of my personal life, but I realized if I don't tell the people my whole story, including the rock bottom, why should you believe me at all, So yeah, and this was the point, and it was always, it took me, I think, 3 months or so to write the book. It just went out, and it. Man, I still had a lot of connections from the jeweler business with the same niche market, like people already believing a little bit in this. So it was quite good in Germany from the beginning. So, and now I found a nice girl. She made a translation into English.
Yeah.
So now I entered the
English
market. Yeah, but this is, for me, and I try to keep it short, like really a guide without the unnecessary blah blah and hundreds of examples. It's more or less, it's my story, and it's like a quintessence of everything, and this embodiment of this reality and what you have to do before, because you have to do some clean up, with your beliefs, and to realize all this self-sabotage. It's always before you hit the goal. It's like 100%. You can be sure there are like thousands of moments of self-sabotage. Like you don't do this or you don't do that, and this is where you have to keep repeating it. It's at the end, it's a quite simple secret.
Mm.
It's just the point of decision, this is the decision you do. And like we talked before
Yeah.
before we started
All
the
the
official
different
podcast,
timelines
is
and
that,
all the different
yeah, it's
beliefs. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's woo woo, but woo woo works. This is my opinion. In the meantime, it's if you believe it or not, there's so many examples all around the world. And but it's I don't, for me, I don't believe in this, like, just asking the universe and it's delivering, because it's not like that. It's
You have to
you
put
you have the
action in it.
responsibility,
Mm.
and it's your reality. And I also like, when I'm doing my researches now, like with the quantum physics, we I think we are like on a really like interesting point in history, where science meets the woo woo somehow.
Exactly.
Where
Exactly.
they come together. You have experiments, you can test it, and it's proven, like this quantum entanglement. I think synchronicity is based a little bit on this. That you somehow you are able to bend your reality
Yeah.
if it's like inside you. And now the science is on a point that they can test it and retest it and prove it. And it doesn't matter if you believe it, or if you can grab it with your 5 official senses. There is something.
Yeah. And it's so true, because it was funny. My coach will say, like when you were saying before about you have to go through the self-doubt and everything, he says you need to break down to break through. So
Yeah.
because, and it's funny because I had this intuitive pull. I came home a few months ago and I sat down. I wanted to sell everything. Everything. I just
Mhm.
wanted to sell everything and get a bus and travel. And then my husband, God bless him, he started looking up RVs as well. And then he's like, yeah, let's do it. And then my son was freaking out. We're like, oh, okay, maybe we'll just sell the land that we've got near the house. And then nothing really happened with that. I'm like, nah, we're not meant to be here. Like, I can't shake this feeling. Like, we've got to go. And then, because I work with the land a lot, the land basically was saying, you're not meant to be here. And I was like, all right, I'm trusting this, following it. So we found this amazing realtor who walked in and understood exactly what we were capturing, because our house is very customized. And anyway, and it hasn't been selling. It's only been a few weeks, but I'm just like, there's something blocking it. And I'm like, what is it? And I had this really triggering coaching session. This is why I like coaching. But I had this really triggering coaching session. And I sat back and I went, oh my goodness, I've put conditions on, I can't leave till I get more coaching clients, or I can't do this until I do this. Or my subconsciously, I'd done it because I've been conditioned on all my success throughout my life. So when you were saying you have to go within to do all the work before it happens on your outside, I can completely resonate. So I'm really excited to see what happens this week, because I finally saw that connection. And even when I was meditating, it was almost like I had put handcuffs on myself, and my guides actually removed my handcuffs, because I hadn't realized I'd put all these conditions subconsciously in place. And like you said, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, which this wasn't rock bottom, but it was just an example of like, I'm following the universe, I'm surrendering, I'm trusting, like I have no idea where we're going to live. Like we have a general idea, but it was trusting it. So anyway, it's funny because then, because often people say, oh, maybe it's not meant to be, but it's like, no, hang on, what's going on the inside that's blocking me from creating that?
Yeah, exactly. Me too is still now, after all the things already worked out, but I still catch myself with stuff like this. And it's so deep. It's
Mm-hmm.
so deep inside you, and it's so hard to get it. And but this is why I also, in the book, because I realized I read many things also about the inner child and blah blah blah. I think sometimes, work on the inner child. Man, the inner child is a part in my book, but it's you cannot really go back and change things. And you cannot really. I think also the memories are not real sometimes. We don't really know anymore. What really has happened. So for me, it's more like there's one step you do in this affirmation. What I do is like you just think about yourself like as a child, and you say, I'm here, I can tell you what all the good that has happened, and I have this mind game when you call your future self, the self that had reached already everything, you know. So the same way you trust that you tell your inner child the reality, so you trust your future self to tell you the reality. And I have this mind game sometimes when I sit in the morning on the computer, and I start like wasting time, you know, like going start here, there, losing myself, and like, no, okay, let's just think about it. What my future self, what should I do to make it quicker, you know? Because for me, it's one point is already also this manifesting quicker, you know. I hate to wait these years, because some of my manifestations, they were really painful, you know, like really, waiting and waiting. And what I see now with the synchronicity, because if you I really believe in this luck or these lucky coincidences, and I think they are always there. You just don't see them. You don't take them, or you're like half blind that you choose the wrong one again because you think you have this, and I call it the how addiction. You know, in your mind, you have exactly an idea how or what has happened
How it has to
before.
happen. Yeah.
That's the how addiction, you know, and I always concentrate on like letting go the how, because I don't know the how. It with the boat, so many people, or like coincidences of meeting the right people to lead you in a new direction. Also with the truly to get, there were so many coincidences, you know, in one way, and on the other hand not. It was like this was, you think when you have this how addiction, is like you have a plan, you know, this is
Yeah.
like, but the real way is like, you know, like turning here, turning there, but it's quicker because it's like just floating.
Yeah.
And this is this matter of trust, that you believe in your luck, that even if the one way you think that is the right one, it doesn't work out, another one, okay, it's like nothing new, but a new door will open. It's just like that, and you get to your point much quicker.
Yeah, and I guess it's like the universe moves when you move as well. So it's like, you know, you can't just, like you said, make a wish and hope it will happen. You still have to take all the steps and show the universe that you are taking actions to move in that direction. Because, you know, if we hadn't put the house for sale, we could sit here and wish all we want that someone comes and buys our house. But if we haven't put it for sale, no one's going to know that the house is for sale, you know, right? You know, so you still got to take all the steps, and you still got to do all the work to move forward. But sometimes, you know, it was funny because when we were building this house, it took such a long time. Like we almost gave up on it because it took us 4.5 years from when we got the land to when we moved in, right? And we almost gave up on it. And then I look back now and I was like, no, we were meant to be up like where we were renting. We were meant to rent for 6 months, right? Ended up being 4 years, you know. So it was just like, no, you know, we were meant to be up there because the pandemic happened, and if I wasn't close, I wouldn't be able to get to the office to keep working. You know, if all this stuff was happening in my company and I had to go there frequently when I wasn't meant to be there, and it was only 5 to 10 minutes away instead of an hour, you know, so like all this stuff. And I look back, and then we had these crazy bushfires, and I was like, we haven't even started building yet. Like, this is amazing if it comes through. Like, we're so unaffected by it, you know. And so there was so many things that I was so grateful for the delay, you know, and everything's on its own perfect timing. And I guess we need to learn to trust that. But like you said, at the time, you want to go and crawl and rock in a ball and just go, what is going on there? Because it doesn't make any sense. But I had to laugh because I do oracle readings, right, every Monday, because it's Monday here. And the card that I pulled for this week is your life is a canvas, artist manifestation, and creative accountability. And I laughed because I knew I was about to interview you, and I thought, wow, look at that synchronicity. Like, how perfect is that?
Yeah, but like you were saying, there is this decision point, you know, like there is the right timing for everything. Some things take longer, but I think there's still this decision point when you think, or you feel like, no, now I want to have it, and for me everything comes down to the emotion, so it's not like just like with the wishes to the universe. For me, that the powerful thing is the emotion behind. So this
Yes.
is why I talk always about the inner reality, because in the inner reality, if you think about something and you have to smile, or it makes you feel good, I think this is the moving the moving energy, because at the end everything is energy. You have the tiniest particles, the atoms, but there is so much space in between. And I think with our mind, and especially with our emotions, we fill this space. And this is how it works. It's really the emotion behind. So when you, like in my book, I created like a formula. I have like, it's not much, it takes like 2 minutes to repeat your own formula. You have to write it by yourself for sure. I just guide through the development of your own formula, and it takes maximum 2 minutes to go into it, to repeat your sentences. And the more you do it, is this creating of this feeling. And when I sold my jewelry brand, I was jumping around like a month, like yeah. And I had always this yes, and I had this yes, I knew it feeling, because I really knew it. I trained myself, or I did everything to believe it, and then it was really yes, I knew it, feel it. And this is what I think what is the most important thing to create if you want to, like, to step into your new reality, is to create a feeling before that you like, I knew it's not like just I knew it's going to happen. So it's like I knew it happened, I knew it worked.
Yeah.
You make this step into
You're
the
already
future,
living
and
it.
just
Yeah.
to be so sure about it, that even if whatever they tell you, like now, you have the boat, I have the jewelry business, now I have the book, and what the
Yes.
people say, oh, you wrote the book, fantastic, like everybody's writing a book now.
Why not?
and
Why
and for
not?
me it's like a repetition again. It's like, what do you want, like with the book? I said, yeah, you will see,
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love your attitude with that. It's just like, yeah, okay. You think I can't do it? Well, let's see. Let's see how good
Yeah.
like it's like I just wrote a book about everything you told me I couldn't do as well. So here we are.
Watch me doing it.
That's it. Watch me. As we finish our time together, Susanne, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Like looking at the world right now, I go for peace.
Yeah.
I love harmony. I love peace, and I just want all the beings to be happy, free, and free of pain. Like,
yeah.
It's I think it's the most important thing. I don't want this. I don't want this like people convincing each other from different religions or what. I don't care. You just leave everybody alone. Believe whatever you want, as long as you're happy and you're not trying to convince me about your beliefs.
That's it. Yeah, so very true. And how can people find your book, and how can they find you?
It's supersynchronicity.com, and it's now on Amazon.
Beautiful.
You can get and yeah, that's it. I also the Audible is coming soon. It's already ready, but it takes some time. But yeah, Amazon is
Awesome.
the place, or just my website.
Perfect. I'll make sure I put all those details in the show notes as well. So if anyone's like, I've got to get this book, they can know where to go. So thank you so much for your time, Susanne. It's been a ride. I love it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So very much. It was like, yeah, people cannot see us, but I'm so happy to see you. Like you're like a shining.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Beautiful. And yeah, if you want to get a Super Synchronicity, you can grab it on Amazon. We'll pop the details in the show notes as well. And thank you again, Susanne.
Yeah. Thank you to the other side of the world. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.